Hey everybody, welcome back to where we do deep dives into the New Testament. So no matter what your religious beliefs, no matter where you come from, we believe it's important to explore all of the ancient religious texts so that we can have a better understanding internally for our own individual spiritual paths, and that we may find some things that we agree and disagree with, and we can discern that for ourselves. And previously, we were discussing, we're in Matthew, where Jesus said, take heed of false prophets. And one thing I didn't mention in that video, which don't take heed of false prophets, primarily only meaning anybody that doesn't fully follow whatever Jesus is saying, which there's a lot of contradictions in that. And one thing that I didn't say was Sat Yoga. The Sat Yoga Institute, and I can't pronounce his name correctly, Shunnamurti is close enough, or like Eckhart Tolle or Alan Watts. All these guys are fantastic in helping develop our spiritual understanding and how to connect with the infinite. I would not consider these guys false prophets. But anyway, we go on in our bite-sized chunks so we can digest and let this stuff marinate in small, short videos. And we're in Matthew chapter 7, verse 16. And Jesus goes on into this parable of a good tree yields good results. A bad tree equals bad results. And, the parable is, such as life. We see that with people everywhere. Bad people normally do bad things, and good people normally do good things. So sometimes that's difficult to discern because bad people can have a really good spiel, so it's their actions that determine what it is. And he goes on to say that, Jesus does, in the verse 19 of chapter 7, every tree not yielding good fruit is to be cut down. Now, this is something that is hard to understand, at least for me, because why not try to save the tree? For many thousands of years, there have been ways to, if there's a diseased tree, if the tree doesn't have the right nutrition, it gets weak, and all those sort of husbandry acts of taking care of Mother Earth and the trees, just cut it down? That's implying that you just cut down bad people. And there are a lot of people that are having bad experiences and take bad actions, but they're really good people because they've had really bad influences and bad life decisions, but have ultimately began to turn themselves around, or have the potential to turn themselves around. At least we should give them the opportunity to be better before you just cut them down. That's a tough one for me to swallow here with Jesus. And if we go on, Jesus says in verse 20 of chapter 7, therefore from the fruits you shall know them. Well, then he finished, but then he says burn down all the fruit trees that are bad. I don't think we should burn down anyone. Do everything possible not to burn them down first. That's not the case here. But that is true, though, and there's some wisdom in this, because we do know bad people from their actions. We know good people from their actions. We know if you are spiritually inclined, you're going to reach out, and your actions are going to show that you're doing spiritual things. Same in business, same in relationships. If you're actively being good at working at something, your actions are going to show that. So yeah, that's sort of an obvious thing. That's good to be reminded of a lot. Then on chapter 7, verse 21 and 22, the people who cry out to me, Jesus says, but do not know my Father, will not go to heaven. Well, what exactly is his will? A lot of people claim they know because the preacher or pastor tells them, and then they have their own interpretations of what that is, and hence the so many different denominations of Christianity, and you could say the same thing about many religions. So that's something to consider when you say you will not know me. My Father will not allow you to go to heaven because you didn't practice his will. But that's really confusing, especially if you go back and watch any number of our hundreds of videos of small bites digesting the Old and New Testament. There's a bunch of contradictions in there. And in Matthew chapter 7, verse 23 and 24, this also poses some confusion, because Jesus says he will tell you after you die that that he doesn't know you. I never knew you. I just struggle with, how can the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the infinite, the source of all things, universal energy, create a life knowing exactly what it's going to do and be, and then say, hey, I never knew you. I don't know you. I put these things in front of you, and I gave you this life, and I knew exactly how it was going to turn out, which makes me question free will as it's understood by people who are Christians is striking to me. But that's a whole nother subject and a whole nother video. Just how, and I wrote here in my notes that how can God forget you or not know you? And that's something that is striking to me. And that is enough to digest today, because that's a lot to ponder on. And if you are on your own spiritual path and you think it's important to understand ancient religious text, and you believe it is important for a whole variety of reasons, then stay and watch us. But also, if you believe that the infinite has given us a whole bunch of other tools to utilize and practice in our daily lives to help us grow internally, help us navigate our way through this life the best way we can by creating and building and maintaining good relationships with others, and communicating, meditating, praying with the divine the best way we can, and doing that in great fellowship with other people, then you're invited. Please come out and see us on Sundays if you're in the local area. We're right on the East Texas-Louisiana border, and we get together every Sunday at 1:15, and it's just a fantastic time. So it is super family friendly, and there's a lot of activities here for everybody to do. So I appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.